Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Hyperfixation, the podcast, your weekly deep dive into the niche and the eccentric. We're tackling a few niche and eccentric things today. I'm taking you on a little trip. I thought it was a good opportunity to showcase a few things for you today. We're in Gary's Mod, or gMod, as it's called. I've been playing a bit of Gary's Mod on and off for a long time. I've racked up quite a lot of hours, as Steam likes to remind me. Now, Gary's Mod, for those of you who aren't aware, is essentially a sandbox game that was developed in the S.O.S engine. The S.O.S engine was built for Half-Life 2 and other Valve games, such as Portal 2. It's an engine where games run, and it was era-defining. And, still is, has its issues, of course. It's a 20-year-old plus engine. But what Gary's Mod allows is for creativity and sort of leaps and bounds of just messing around in a sandbox environment. And today I've loaded this map. It's called GM Gallifrey City, because we're going to talk about Doctor Who as well. So we're going to talk about Doctor Who, we're going to talk about gMod, and Doctor Who in video games. I thought it was pertinent timing. Now, we recorded on the podcast, it was a little while ago, we recorded I'll just do some panning shots of Gallifrey while I'm crapping on. We recorded the Doctor Who TV movie commentary. That was with Charlotte and I. The review episode we released, it was episode 24, I think. But the full commentary is available on the Patreon. And it was really pertinent timing because the week it came out was the week it was announced that Doctor Who is not going forward in any capacity at the moment. It as a show is effectively on hold, indefinite hiatus, cancelled, whatever you want to call it. There's plenty of names you can call it. It's in the worst place it's been in for a long time. Creatively, it's potentially in the worst place it has ever been in. Its continuity is shattered. It is all over the place in terms of the show itself. So, look, we're in whether we like it or not, another form of the wilderness years. But what it allows us to do is talk about other Doctor Who things, so Doctor Who games. So I'll cover other Doctor Who mods. There's a lot of Doctor Who stuff here in Gary's Mod, which we're going to look at, maybe some other stuff as part of my workshop and collection of subscribed items. And there's also things like Fallout. So Fallout New Vegas, there was a really popular mod going for a long time called Fallout Who Vegas. Very cleverly tied in there. And then the same team who developed these are all fans, obviously. Mods are fan-made game expansions, effectively. They then transitioned to Fallout 4, and they made a little bit of a Fallout Who addition to Fallout 4, but then Starfield was announced, and then so they've been actively working on a Starfield mod called, I think it's called Whofield. I'm gonna hazard a guess. So what have I done? The camera. I have wanted to cover Doctor Who mods, and I thought it's also a good time to talk about the show since it's been put out to tender. Is the official term the BBC have used, put out to tender, and talk about my sort of journey with it, because I was born and grew up during the original wilderness years, but I was sort of lucky. Doctor Who came back around at the perfect time with Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, with Russell T at the helm. I would have been probably 10, 11 around the time, which is the perfect age to get into the show. And, I grew up watching the classic stuff, and then new stuff came out. And, it was the most exciting time to be a Doctor Who fan, and now is probably the least exciting time to be a Doctor Who fan. Everyone thought it was going to be again when it was the Disney thing came out and Russell was back, and it was, you know, oh, this could be the next big thing again, and it just wasn't. So this is a recreation of Gallifrey. So in Gary's mod, you can make anything you want, and it's great for additional modders. So this is just a fan-made map of Gallifrey. You might go to some different maps as well. Of the Citadel. Some Gallifrey facts for you. Yes, this is the Citadel on Gallifrey, and out there is the wilderness where the Shobogans reside. I will say, like, the skybox there's something really janky about it. Not to review this too harshly, but one thing I do want to know is that I'm not sure what picture they've used. But there only appears to be one sun and some stars. I'm not sure where they've gotten that from. Gallifrey, fun fact, has 2 suns, a bit like Tatooine from Star Wars. So in Gary's mod, you get a spawn menu, and you can load up sort of anything you've got, anything you've subscribed to on the workshop. So we've got heaps of Doctor Who stuff, which we'll look at. First of all, we've got Bessie. Here we go. Here's Bessie. Bessie never made her way into the the new series, which is a bit of a shame. It says use right control to switch between first and third person, but that's not quite working. But I'm driving around in Bessie at the moment here. Maybe I've got a few different things I can use. There we go. Oh no, that's horrific. This is a mod called Scars or S.O.S. I used to play so much of this, but I've just forgotten how it all works. There's a control somewhere because it just seems like it's having some trouble. Here we go. Controls. There we go. My skin at the moment is David Tennant as the 14th Doctor, which is you know, pretty cool. Now Gary's mod is a lot of fun. It's the perfect mucking around sort of experience. But yeah, this is Bessie. It's pretty cool, and you can drive Bessie around. Woo! Great. So I have Bessie there, but what you can also do is spawn the TARDIS. So a while ago, somebody figured out a way to do TARDISes. Now, it started off as this. A Dr. Matt, I think, was the name. Cookie Morph is a name I've seen around a bit of the users who've developed the Gary's mod TARDISes over the years. But it started out as this. So this is the original one. I've turned my light on. Which is just a police box exterior. It looks pretty good. It's crisp and HD. And it teleports you into an interior, which is what's known in fan communities as the copper interior. It's Matt Smith's first console room for those playing along at home. And it's sort of a rough map of that console room. I think it's exported from Doctor Who The Adventure Games, which were some free Windows games released. I think you had to get it on the BBC website. And internationally, I think it finally got a release on Steam. But what it allows you to do is it then allows you to pilot the TARDIS, which is pretty cool. And you can fly it around and also dematerialize it, which is pretty sick. So it allows you to, like, you can set, with this you can set your landing point. You can fly it around, and it's just a lot of fun. Just a cool little thing to have, and they included some additional things so you can program where you want to go using coordinates. It has a few. You can turn the power on and off. You can also fly it using. So I'm inside the console room now, and you can program it so you fly it using a sequence of controls as if you were the Doctor flying the TARDIS. And it's, you know, there's stuff like that that's a nice touch. And it's stuff I think they've picked up from lines of dialogue. So I'm looking at the Wibbly Lever here, for instance. There's an isomorphic security system. If you turn that on, nobody else can use it. So that's good for multiplayer. It's got a self-repair lever. This turns flight mode on. So when you're inside the TARDIS and you turn flight mode on, the rotor will go up and down, lights will go. But yeah, all the controls sort of work as if it's a real thing. It's also got the HADS, the Hostile Action Displacement System, which you can turn on and off. So if something like hits the TARDIS or it runs in, it'll dematerialize as an emergency. And there's cool sort of sound effects and animations and things. And it's really, really cool. Like, quite legitimately, it's really cool. And this was sort of the first iteration. And I think you could sort of customize it a bit as well. So if you go into the menu, you can take the St. John's ambulance sticker on and off. You can turn on the lights. It's got a few different colors. So one that looks a bit more like the David Tennant Eccleston TARDIS model, the War Doctor's TARDIS, that sort of thing. So some really cool stuff. There's a snow model as well, which is nice. So that was the original one. And then, so that sort of spawned into different versions. So there's a version of the 2005 TARDIS, the Eccleston Tennant TARDIS with sort of lower textures, but an interior with lighting and controls. Oh, I've accidentally taken off, ladies and gentlemen. I've taken off. You can sit in the seat, though. That's pretty cool. This is David Tennant's The 14th Doctor. I've got here. There's a few. You can choose your player model as well. That's a bit of a thing with Gary's mod. I've probably got way too much loaded in my workshop for the game to be sort of able to cope. Keep it light, keep it breezy is always my motto. So with Doctor Who, it's really in a difficult spot at the moment. We won't be getting a new show for years now. And look, they've got stuff in the pipeline, like there's this Circuit Breaker thing, which is starring Joe Martin, and it's this multimedia cross-platform adventure. I mean, that was set into motion way before they cancelled the Christmas special. And it will probably be one of the last things that is officially released, in which case, look, the community... We're going to go back to things like, I know there's going to be comics still released, books. Big Finish are still going to be releasing their plethora of audio adventures every year. And, that'll keep the brand alive, in all honesty. So, people can mock how much content and how much irrelevant content Big Finish make. But, I mean, they're keeping the brand alive. And I feel they have in the gap years and the hiatus years we've had, probably since Series 6 is when the gap years started, or at least the big breaks between seasons. So I feel like, look, mock it all you want, but, if you love Doctor Who and the show isn't just going to be on for years, yep. That's where we're at, folks. I mean, it is now effectively not only a legacy brand, but a legacy brand. It is now just all legacy, no future for the moment. So back to these TARDISes. So what then developed was the concept of using portals. So much like the game Portal, what this allowed was for modders to make a TARDIS that was effectively bigger on the inside. This is the default one, and I think it's modified heavily since the original default one. Much more polished, high-definition exterior here. Also, one little thing. So what I've got here is what I'm using to wield around is a physics gun. So it's the super gravity gun model from Half-Life 2, for those of you who've played it. And you use it to pick up props, objects, characters, that sort of thing. Every time you pick up the TARDIS and drop it down, it makes sort of like that land noise that it has. Yeah, it's cute. Let me adjust the outside if I can. Oh, yes, you can change the color of the windows. You can change the different skin colors to... Yeah, there we go. Okay, I will choose a model that doesn't have missing textures. Oh no, let's use the legacy TARDIS. What the heck is with these missing textures? All right, I'm loading up a different map, folks, because that one crashed. I think maybe it was just having trouble loading the TARDISes. This is the other thing as well. Modding, like anything, can create issues. So as I was saying with Doctor Who, look, it gives us all a chance to breathe, to reflect on the eras, to reflect on the wins, their successes, the things we didn't like so much. And, wait for it to come back again. I mean, there's plenty of other things to enjoy while Doctor Who isn't on the air. It is a shame, of course, that things ended so sort of abruptly and so sort of confused. And, with seemingly a lot of pots on the boil that now, because whoever comes after, whoever picks up the show next, will have to start with a clean slate, creatively, to be able to do their own thing with it, like not to be backlogged with all of this lore and this unresolved story that needs to be fixed. It's a very different situation. So back, when the first few times they've cancelled it. So when Colin Baker was the Doctor, they cancelled it after his first season, and then due to public outcry, they retracted and said, it's just going on a break. It's just going on a hiatus. Sound familiar? It was 16 months, I think, 14, 16 months. It was over a year. And then it came back for a limited season, so they gave them half the episodes, I think. And I can hear a Dalek heartbeat on loop. They gave it half a season, and the show sort of limped along. Then from that point onwards, the BBC wanted to fire Colin Baker, give the show a whole new lease of life. John Nathan Turner, the producer at the time, the executive producer at the time, said, well, if we're having to recast Colin, then let's redo the whole thing, make like a new version of the show, hired an all-new young writing team. So when the show finally reached cancellation with Sylv and Sophie Aldred, it had, in its time, it was on a creative high. It's some of the best Doctor Who ever, seasons 25 and 26. So and it's really disappointing that those stories sort of never got resolved. I mean, people have tried with Big Finish and the comics and several novelizations and things like that to sort of realize the dream of where the Doctor and Ace's story was going. But at least looking at a reflection, you go, oh, well, they just were unfinished and the show got cancelled and all of that. That being said, at least they sort of finished a story. At least they didn't, they have this massive what the heck cliffhanger, which Peter Davison described as throwing a hand grenade out. And I can't think of a better analogy. Getting Billy Piper in for, that 5-second green screen cameo was a choice, seemingly of complete desperation. But look, I digress. So many things unresolved, so many things left hanging on. They had this whole thing with Susan. There was this thing of the boss that was not resolved. The whole gods thing was just this sort of confused sort of mess. They had a Rani kicking around. The Master as well is trapped inside a gold tooth. There are so many things now that have just permanently linked themselves to canon because of the inclusion of all these legacy characters and moments and highlights that, it sort of has tarnished the legacy a lot. So whoever comes next will have to just start with a clean slate. And now, sorry, just to sidetrack, I'm on Skaro, so this is a little map, and it's mostly modeled after Skaro as seen in The Witch's Familiar and The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, this season 9 opener with Peter Capaldi. So I've just been running around the hallways while I've been talking. So looks like a sort of cell unit. Obviously, that design of a lot of those corridors were heavily based on the Daleks, and the depiction of the Skaro city in the Daleks, 1963, the Daleks. 1963 to 1964, I presume it aired over sort of Christmas and the New Year. So anyway, I'll see if I can spawn a TARDIS while we're in here. I'm not sure. Some maps, because of the skybox, don't allow you to. If I can't spawn a TARDIS, I'll show you some of the other Doctor Who stuff. Well, since it's the Capaldi TARDIS, what you can do. So this is the TARDIS menu, featuring a whole lot of additions. So custom TARDISes, joke TARDISes, but also the screen sort of TARDISes, and faithful recreations. Plus, with a lot of them, you can choose which version. So this is the Capaldi TARDIS, and they've got different variants as based on what's appeared in the show. So I'm going to pick the Series 9 TARDIS, since this is where we're at. It's figuring itself out. Okay, well, the police box doesn't fit. There we go. There we go. This is a Series 9 TARDIS. Let me pop the lights on. There we go. Okay, the skybox hasn't loaded. That's all right. The prop looks great. What I can do, though, is spawn some Daleks. So let's 1963. There we go. Oh, and they will kill you. They are not particularly friendly. They are actually quite scary. They're Oh. Yep, there is cool. They look. So there's all these different variants of Daleks from all their different appearances. They do have voice lines. I think they struggle a bit with doors instead of stairs. They do have voice lines, and all the sound effects are era appropriate as well, which is a nice touch. Oh, he got me. One thing I noticed there is that something that is indeed era appropriate is that the eye stalk has a lens that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. When they bring the Daleks back, when they bring the Daleks back, one thing I'd like to see is the lens like focusing, which they sort of had in Dalek with Christopher Eccleston. They had a little shot, like a close-up of the Dalek's eye stalk focusing on Rose. But it'd be cool if there was like a mechanical lens, like aperture, like the 60s Daleks have. That's one thing I kind of miss. Speaking of that, let's find a new series Dalek. New series Daleks, here we go. Oh, updated sound effects, that's cool. Let's try and get out of this room. Oh. Yep, that's Nick Briggs, all right. You know what? I'm sort of without tools. Let me get a Sonic. I'm not sure if the Sonic has any effect on. There we go. I've got the 14th Doctor Sonic here with the Sonics as well. Sorry, I know there's a Dalek running around, but I've got a little bit of time. You can change the color as well of it all. It's like all really customizable. And it changes like glow effects and all that. So I'm going with a blue one, and also you can click a button and it retracts and extends, which is pretty cool. So, look, essentially this is like oh lord, sorry, nearly got shot by a Dalek behind my shoulder. Oh, so they have different voice lines when they spot you. That's interesting. Now, this is the 14th Doctor Sonic, so it's got the ability to make a shield. Uh-oh. The Dalek just got free of the door. And it is gutting its way down this hallway. They move, bro. Okay, the Sonic has no functionality. But I've got a Sonic shield as seen in the Star Beast. Oh. Now, I know it's not, particular. Yep. Oh no, it just blew up my Sonic shield. That's not fun. I'm gonna retreat a little bit and then come back a little bit later. Sorry, bro. I'll see what weapons I've got. Because I don't know exactly what the Daleks... So I've got a lot of different guns here. Yep, that's not great. I'm going to try the... I'm just looking through weapons to see what I've got against this. I've got the holy hand grenade. That'll do. I've got holy hand grenade. I'm going to see if that... Now, the Doctor, of course, doesn't encourage violence. But I think for the sake of this game, we can... Well, at the cost of my own life, I defeated the Dalek with a holy hand grenade, so that's always nice. But yeah, we're going to do some more Doctor Who content. I've got a lot of Doctor Who collectibles that I'd like to talk through. I think Charlotte would be keen on coming and doing some more classic Who. So one thing I talked to her about was maybe looking at, with the recent release of the season 21 box set, a Caves of Androzani twin dilemma double feature. For those of you who don't know, Caves of Androzani is possibly the best story of classic Who, and the twin dilemma is quite easily the worst. I don't know. There's things to like about the twin dilemma. Crazy, I know, but they are both carry this legacy behind them. One of, peak Doctor Who, and the other of complete twaddle. So, and she has seen limited classic Who, the only classic Who she's seen. So I would be really interested in her perspective on it. So yeah, that might be coming soon. I've also, just as a side note, one sort of permanent side quest I'm on is to complete sort of my collection of 1/6 scale Doctor Who figures. So there was a company that was making them called Big Chief Studios, and they went under. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt, and I had a couple of figures on pre-order with them. So I've taken it upon myself to pick up sort of where they left off, as a lot of collectors have, and a lot of people in the Doctor Who community have, to sort of finish what they started. And so I've got a few crafty things. So similar to the last episode that was released, which was the Endor diorama, Yub Nub. I've got a few crafty things that I've been working on. So I'm working on the 7th Doctor at the moment. And I am going to finish up his umbrella, which should be a little job. So I'm not sure it's quite enough for a podcast episode, but I can definitely see. So in terms of Doctors, I've got 1 to 8 done, apart from 7, who is like 70% done. Oh, no. I've painted the face and everything. He's like 90% done. Also the War Doctor, War to 13 are done. So War 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, completely done. And then I've sort of just started on the Fugitive Doctor. She's the Doctor I've got the least sort of work on at the moment. And then I've got 14 and 15 all ready to go, but heads. I don't have likenesses of the actors yet. So other than that, like, it is nearly completed as a project. I've been working on it for years, so that I will definitely do a proper retrospective on that. So there's more Doctor Who content. I just want to space it out a bit. I like to keep things really fresh on the podcast. So I like to have sequels of things, but to be spaced out where possible. But yeah, this map. So back to the TARDISes. So I'll show you the Legacy TARDIS. Hopefully the textures will work. There we go. So this is I was blown away when they first did this. This is a TARDIS that is bigger on the inside. And in terms of official releases, they've done a bigger on the inside TARDIS before. It was in one of the adventure games. They did it, and it was this same trick. So how it works. So we've got here the box. It actually, I'll tell you what, it works exactly like the real TARDIS works. So we've got a box here. It is just a box. It's a wooden box. And it, at the threshold of the doors, has a portal which links to another dimension. And it teleports you when you walk through the doors. So you'll see a slight little shift. Where I'm not sure why it's saying I've got explosives on me, because it's never worried about that before. And it takes you to another dimension. In this case, in the context of gMod, it takes you to a spawn point somewhere in the skybox, where the interior of the TARDIS lives. So for instance, I'm using no clip now as a sort of like a spectator mode. So this is where the box is, and then we can peek inside the box, and we'll with the doors closed, and we'll see it's just an empty box. When you open it opens up the portal. So here is the skybox where the interior lives, and it won't let you exceed too far out of the boundaries. Oh, TARDIS is busy. TARDIS is ignoring me. Is there a way I can like completely clear my inventory? Because that is a bit of an annoying feature. I like it, but it's a bit too much. Well, look, what I'll show you is, now I'll just show you the first TARDIS. Let's do green 1963 classic doors. So all of these TARDISes have a huge range of customizability options, and that's partly... I'm going to spawn it with a police box. Preferred version, preferred door type, classic... everything has so many options. Oh, interiors default versions, 1963 police box. So all of them have huge amounts of customizability options because, I mean, especially with the 60s and 70s interiors, there is not much continuity between story to story. Once you get to sort of the secondary console room, things start to get a bit more, they start to actually just put up the same set, not just like a completely different one every episode. But there's all these versions to reflect that. And especially with the Hartnell TARDIS, you can spawn in the Adventure in Space and Time set. You can also spawn in the different 1963, 1965 versions. But we'll spawn in just the classic 1963 police box. You can adjust the lamp because the lamp is different. Add in some snow if you want. But if we open the TARDIS... there we go. And for a lot of these console rooms, they've added in a studio roof, which is kind of cool. And you can customize all of this. So this wall here, which in the real set is a printed backdrop. You can also select to have it a printed backdrop. You can have this all white, as seen in An Adventure in Space and Time or Twice Upon a Time. This is a really faithful recreation of the Hartnell TARDIS. Now, if I turn on... let me get a Sonic up or something. The first Doctor doesn't have a Sonic, of course. Let's do a TARDIS key. These controls all work. So what we... and also they're based on the actual console itself, and the buttons on the actual console. And they all pretty much do things that actually affect the functionality of the TARDIS, or do something, which is really cool. That's to change lights, manual flight control. Where's the door switch? It's something. It's one of the fake fan. I can't remember where the door switch is on the Hartnell box. I think it's one of these. I thought one of these little. Ah, here it is. See, that's just sick. Also, with all these classic boxes, you can choose whether to just have the doors, like the classic doors, or you can spawn a little airlock to link to the actual police box doors. So it, in the Tennant Eccleston, from the new series onwards, they do pretty much just police box doors leading into the interior of the TARDIS, rather than these sort of magic sci-fi doors on the out, I really, in my headcanon, I really wish they'd bring this back, but have it as blast doors for flight only. So there's the normal police box interior doors, and then there's these classic doors act as blast doors to seal over the top of it. That's my headcanon anyway. But we've got the doors closed now. I don't know if any of that made any sense, incidentally. So this is the exterior of the box. And you can control it. You can control the color of the lamp, but you can control it. Oh, we're spinning in the wrong direction. But it doesn't matter because we're just a TARDIS flying through space, which is pretty cool. And so this is the interior of the TARDIS in flight. It was the spin button. That's right. Anti-clockwise. The TARDIS looks wrong flying clockwise, in my opinion. I think it should be, which is funny because it's... Oh, hang on a minute. Why doesn't the TARDIS fly clockwise when going forward in time and anti-clockwise when flying back in time? Is that a thing? Have people done that? Can somebody let me know, does the TARDIS, is it animated to fly clockwise when going forward in time or anti-clockwise when going backwards in time? Now, gonna dematerialize. Oh, I've noticed on these settings, I've got some sort of chameleon circuit. But if you look at the time vortex, it's the 60s title sequence. It's the 60s time vortex. And you can open up the doors mid-flight. Sick. Well, since we've done the first TARDIS, let's do the most recent TARDIS. This is the Gatwa TARDIS. This is I think they've called it what have they called it? Each one of them has a different like desktop name that's sort of been adopted by the fan communities. And that honestly, the whole desktop thing is purely from that mini-sode, that Children Who Need Special with David Tennant and Peter Davison, where he makes a joke about the Fifth Doctor makes a joke about the 10th Doctor changing the desktop theme of the TARDIS to coral. And that has become as official canon as anything else, that it's a desktop theme. I don't mind that it's based off a random in-joke. But, so yeah, I believe the Disney TARDIS is called the Tomahawk TARDIS. No idea why. I know, what the others say, there's Coral. The first Matt Smith one is called Copper. Capaldi one, the second Matt Smith and the Capaldi one is, the Toyota. Again, got nothing. And I'm not sure about the Whitaker one. People often name it after the designer or, Oh, that's one cool thing is that the Disney TARDIS makes the Sutek groaning noise, which is really cool. But here we are. And it plays the music from the Star Beast when the 14th Doctor and Donna run around the TARDIS. And this is a really cool recreation. It looks amazing. Like when you sort of see it from this sort of perspective, you go, "Oh, it's a really cool looking ship." It's just so empty. And I think like they added a jukebox in it for Shooty. And I thought, "Oh, great. Yeah, it's just going to become cluttered of all of his stuff. Like he's going to be collecting stuff he's going to chuck in the hat stand." And no, it actually somehow sort of got emptier. And they never really used the jukebox, and it was just like, "Oh, Again, with the whole Disney era, so many missed opportunities." But this is a work in progress. It doesn't have a lot of functioning controls or anything or details like the other ones, but it does look really cool. I know, like, they've gotten the lights to work and change color and all of that. Oh, yeah, there we go. These controls change the color of the lights, which is really cool. Yeah, so it's like a light blue. It's the TARDIS hums happily after a good rest. So the TARDIS has moods, which is interesting. I think this button... All right, we're in flight. But there's all these animated lights that are really cool. We're sort of back to... Seems like the lights are just purely random. But, it's a cool TARDIS. And the exterior, I really like the exterior. Also, one thing that the TARDIS menu has added is that you can open up this virtual console just straight from the Eurometer. Okay, you can change the year. I think there's a lot of fan add-ons as well. Classic Chameleon, no, I'll turn that off. Screen skin. Oh yeah, you can change the skin of the shell. Temporal grace. I mean, sorry, a state of temporal. This is a TARDIS thing. State of temporal grace means you can't fire weapons in the TARDIS. And as a little running joke, what is it? So I think who is it? One of the doctors, it's either Tom or Peter, we're in a state of temporal grace, you can't fire weapons in the TARDIS. Oh, which one is it? I'm a fake fan. I've forgotten. I thought it was Peter in Earthshock says you can't fire weapons in here, which is why they're able to sort of take down the Cybermen. But then they fall on their own sword as well, because then guns are fired inside the TARDIS console room all the time in the 80s. And then the 11th Doctor reveals that was all a lie, and to explain the inaccuracy, which it's a bit Moffat-y, but I quite like that sort of idea. Vortex lightning, yes. TARDIS system registry. You can make companions, maybe out of NPCs. That's cool. But you can access the manual flight control. Oh, I'm in flight. I'm in active flight. Oh, what? The hull's breached? Sorry, I turned my back for literally 3 seconds. I mean, that's sort of the magic of these TARDIS mods. Is you have a TARDIS that's bigger on the inside and you can fly it. I mean, and go anywhere. It's as close to a Doctor Who game as we're ever going to get. You know, Doctor Who has a storied history in gaming. It's usually been in Easter eggs that, the BBC have tried to make their own ones, and there's never been a proper Doctor Who game. The VR games have been pretty good. I think that's been the best attempt made officially, but quite honestly, and especially now that there is no show, I think this is where, Doctor Who gaming is going to exist. It's going to exist where it survives, where the show survives with the fans. But yeah, sorry, here we have from Charlotte and I's review, the TV movie TARDIS, which it might be my favorite one, quite honestly, especially after watching the 4K set. It's just phenomenal. And this is a brand new HD, probably 4K recreation of the box. It doesn't appear to have a cubby hole behind the P. So we've got here the entranceway. Now, I believe over here, scale is really hard to tell because you only see shots of this TARDIS, through bloody Dutch angles and, zoom outs and all of that. And, I'm going to have to rewatch the 4K restoration to really get a good idea of it. The console, I think, is the correct scale. I know there's a gentleman's vanity sort of here. Over here is where his armchair and his coffee table is, and the I think the gramophone is somewhere around here as well. These are the little shelving units where the master pulls out that little bag of gold. There's like a little conservatory thing which you don't even really see in the movie. It's just sort of there. Oh, I've peeked a bit too far behind the curtain. I know there are stairs down. They're meant to be down here, so you can get up to this second level. That's the thing. You don't even notice that there's a second level. But it's like a second level of the library. There must be a button for this observatory thing because I imagine they've included it as a feature. Also, one thing that they've added is this monitor, which I love this idea, and they sort of brought it back for the 11th Doctor's TARDIS. But it contains live updates of what your box is doing. All right, here we go. So we're just back in good old Big City. It's a classic. For a reason, it runs and does not crash. So you can do siege mode, which is really cool. So what that does is it's based off the episode Flatline, and it puts the TARDIS into this lockdown state, so you can't do anything to any of the controls or anything like that. If you look on the outside, it changes it to the little cube. Can you fly it? No, not quite. But yeah, it locks the TARDIS down like in Flatliner. It's just this really cool little idea. But just so cool that they've added in like all these minute details. You can also add in music, so it comes with a bunch of preloaded songs, but also you can add in URLs, I guess, to Spotify and stuff. What are goofy TARDIS songs? I think it's just some Murray Gold goofiness, actually. Okay, they've got different songs as featured in Doctor Who, but they don't have bloody Doctor in Distress, which, can I tell you, we need more than ever now. Doctor in Distress, that is niche and eccentric. Doctor in Distress is Doctor in Distress is a charity single in the sort of I'll turn siege mode off while I explain Doctor in Distress. In the same vein, sort of inspired. There we go, and the lighting returns to normal. Yeah, so much like in the vein of Live Aid, and very much inspired by such, the Doctor and fellow actors involved in Doctor Who at the time got together to record a charity single. This was during the hiatus. This was during the Colin Baker hiatus in between his first season and the Trial of a Time Lord. They did a charity single and called Doctor in Distress, where it was, it's the Happiness Patrol skin. That's cool. Where they all sang to bring back the Doctor, to spread the message, to raise money, to, get the Doctor back on the screens, but like a Live Aid charity single. So everyone, I think rightfully, should be saying, let's get Doctor in Distress back. Let's do it. Let's do the 2026 cover, with Billie Piper. Oh, and that's perfect. Billie Piper reigniting her pop stardom to do a cover of Doctor in Distress. This is the lovely 80s TARDIS. I love the 80s TARDIS with the red door switch. And all the buttons and all the lights and all the clickety-clack in the 80s. Let's do the scanner screen. Quick. The scanner screen. Yes. And it actually shows what's outside the TARDIS as well. That's the door lock. And I think there's a button that you can change, like, so the scanner shows different things as well. Security. That's just isomorphic. Yeah. So, yeah, we really do need to get back on that, folks. Vortex flight. Obviously, I can't play any music or anything. Because I look, already using the sound effects is going to be a bit dicey with YouTube. I imagine they're going to try and get me heavily on that. Also, with the 80s TARDIS, I think it's got all back rooms and stuff. Yes! Show you the Capaldi TARDIS as well, because this is the TARDIS set I've actually visited. So I visited on my 18th birthday. I went to the Doctor Who Experience, and Peter Capaldi was the Doctor at the time. And they had set tours, and because they weren't actively using the set, it was after they had filmed The Husbands of River Song and before they started work on Series 10. So they had things like they had the Clara box, which is the spare police box they use with the painted Clara mural on it. They had some Daleks out, some Weeping Angels, and we got to go into the TARDIS set. And this is a pretty faithful recreation of it. The textures all look right, the dimensions are all right, and this looks like the Series 9 box to me. But all these little animations, these lights, the little sound effects, this attention to detail. These are buttons I've actually touched. Lol. Also, this scanner thing, which you can move around, is so cool. This it could be the best set. I'm not sure. It's definitely up there. I love this TARDIS. The levels are really great. But it's the bigger on the inside thing. I think that's just what makes this whole thing just incredible. And I want to thank everyone for joining me. This has been a purely self-indulgent one on my behalf. So thank you everyone for coming on board. Oh, they've also got the Rani's TARDIS. It's a shame the Rani didn't get a proper TARDIS when she came back, but here we go. Because I love her set. This is the set from the Mark of the Rani. And I love this console room. I think it's so fresh. And such a cool little design. And the rotor is sick. And it's a shame they've never sort of gone back to this. I love this set. And I don't know why. This sort of mausoleum type thing. The console looks a bit evil, the circular thing. Like, it's really fresh. It's not like what they used to do with the Master's TARDIS, which was literally just paint the Doctor's set black, especially in the 80s. Like, it's such a cool idea. But anyway, thanks everyone for joining us this week. Please don't forget, like, subscribe, share. We also have the Patreon available. And it's completely free, so everything up there at the moment is completely free, so please feel free to enjoy. If you've got a suggestion of anything you'd like to see in the podcast, please let me know. I'm always open to feedback, always open for suggestions. If you'd like to come on the podcast, let me know. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great week.